Thidwick, the Big-Headed Moose, written by Dr. Seuss.
Up at Lake Winnebago, the far northern shore, lives a huge herd of mooses, about 60 or more, and they all go around in a big heavy bunch, looking for nice tender moose moss to munch. Up at Lake Winnebago, one day they were lunching, just strolling along and enjoying their munching, for the moose moss that day was especially fine. When it happened that Thidwick, the last moose in line, saw a bingo buck sitting, the buck called out, "Hey, it's such a long road and it's such a hot day. Would you mind if I rode on your horns for a way?" "Of course not," smiled Thidwick, the big-hearted moose. "I'm happy my antlers could be of some use. There's room there to spare, and I'm happy to share. Be my guest, and I hope that you're comfortable there." So the bingo buck picked out a nice easy seat, and the moose went on looking for moose moss to eat. Well, an hour or so later, the bug heard a squeak, and he heard the small voice of a tree spider speak. "I say," said the spider, "you got a fine place. The moose seems quite friendly. He has a nice face. If I got on too, do you think he would mind?" "Hop aboard," laughed the bug, "and I think that you'll find that the moose won't object. He's the big-hearted kind." "I accept," said the spider, with joy and delight, and he started a web on the horn to the right. While the spider was spinning, he heard a gay song, and a fresh little zingazoo bird came along. He stopped and he stared, and he chirped, "Well, well, well, what a smart place to build, what a great place to dwell. I've been living on trees ever since I was born, but here's something new, why not live on a horn? If there's room there for two, there's room there for three, there's plenty of room," laughed the buck, "and it's free." Thidwick stopped walking. "What's all that talking? These guests have caught Thidwick the moose unaware. Hey," he called out, "what goes on there upstairs?" "Just building a nest, sir," the zingazoo said, and beginning yanking hairs out of poor Thidwick's head, and he plucked out exactly 204. "Don't worry," he laughed, "you can just always grow more." Then he dozed off to sleep in his fine moose hair nest. "This bird," murmured Thidwick, "is sort of a pest, but I'm a good sport, so I'll just let him rest. For a host above all must be nice to his guest. Besides, now it's getting quite late in the day, and surely tomorrow they all go away." But at last, next morning, the sun early light brought to Thidwick's sad eyes a most unwelcome sight. "Meet my wife," said the bird. "I was married last night, and perhaps by the way I should mention to you that her uncle is coming to live with us too. You're a very fine host, so I knew you'd be willing." Then the uncle, a woodpecker, started in drilling. "Would, but I can't," sighed poor Thidwick, their guest. "Guess indeed," his friends answered, and all of them frowned. "If those are your guests, we don't want you around. You can't stay with us, 'cause you're just not our sort." And they all turned their backs and walked off with a snort. Now the friendless moose walked alone and forlorn, with 4 great big woodpecker holes in his horn. "What holes?" whispered Herman, a squirrel who sped him. "What holes to hide nuts in? Mind if I try 'em?"
If I could find someone.
"They're yours," called the woodpecker. "Get right inside 'em. This big-hearted moose runs a public hotel. Bring your nuts, bring your wife, bring your children as well." So the whole squirrel family all jumped on, pell-mell. And the very next thing that the poor animal knew, a bobcat and turtle was living there too. Now that was the big-hearted moose going to do. Well, what would you do if it happened to you? You couldn't say scat 'cause it wouldn't be right. You couldn't shout scram 'cause that isn't polite. A host has to put up with all kind of pests, for a host all above must be nice to his guests. So you try to smile, and you try to look sweet, and you go right on looking for moose moss to eat. But now it was winter, and that wasn't easy, for moose moss gets scarce when the weather gets freezy. The food was so gone in the cold northern shore of Lake Winnebago, there just was no more, and all Thidwick's friends scrambled away in a bunch to the southern of the lake, where there's moose moss to munch. He watched the herd leaving, and then said Thidwick knew he'd starve if he stayed here. He'd have to go too. He stepped in the water, then oh, what a fuss! "Stop screaming," his guest. "You can't do this to us. These horns are our home, and you have no right to take our home to the far distant side of the lake. Be fair, Thidwick begged, with a lump on his throat.
No matter what happens,